Alright folks, this is my little treasure box, and what I'm gonna show you inside is very precious to me, even though it looks like literally like garbage. Okay, what you see here is two jigs that are kind of special for me because these are the jigs with which I caught my trophies on video. This one here, and I did not fix them, I did not, improve them or clean them in any way. This is how I got them from the fish's mouth. Man, the light here is not as good as in the garage. Okay, this is the little trout magnet that caught a 40-inch muskie. Link to that video will be in the description. I don't know why that video never took off. I expected this video to go viral. To me, that's one of the best fishing videos on YouTube, even though it's me who's saying it. But if you haven't seen that video, make sure you check it out. It is something special, okay? And the other jig that looks really beat up, okay? It looks really beat up, but again, I didn't fix anything. It's kind of bent out of shape too. This is the jig with which I caught my PB crappie. Link to that video will also be in the description, okay? And this is the jig and the lure and everything with which I caught my PB crappie, and this is the jig that is the focus of today's video. And to be exact, this here is the box that the jig comes out of. Cultiva JH-85 1 gram, and this is number 8 hook. The reason it is so bent out of shape is I snagged it several times on the way I caught my PB. The first time I got in with the waders because that was the only one I had with me on that day and I didn't want to lose it. But the next few times I was too lazy to get in and I just pulled out. But the hook, it's kind of soft. The hook would bend out. When I pull it out, I just bend it back in with the pliers and keep fishing with no problems. And I caught the crappie after I had straightened it out 3 times. Okay. And the other interesting thing is, at the end of the day, I gave this jig to the champion and I asked him to check the tip. Okay, so he checked the tip and he immediately said, this jig is too sharp. It's no good because it is too sharp. And I know what he's talking about. He's talking about, a couple of years ago, I bought some Japanese hooks for carp fishing. I still have those hooks and maybe I'll make a separate video about them. But they were ridiculously sharp and also very thin wire. And what happened with those hooks is I would lose a lot of carp in the middle of the fight. And the carp that I did manage to bring to the bank, the mouth of the carp on the cheek, like it was all torn up. There was like a long line where the hook just tore up the cheek of the fish. I abandoned those hooks because I was first of all losing fish, and then I didn't want to see the fish, that deformed. So sometimes too sharp of a hook creates the danger of the hook just cutting the flesh of the fish and pulling out. However, that's what the champion was talking about. However, even though the crappie has kind of paper mouth, I haven't noticed that happening with this hook. But I told you all of this story just to tell you that the tip of this hook is, even, all of the JDM jigs are pretty sharp, but even in the family of JDM hooks, this guy here is absolutely ridiculously sharp. Okay, I know Randy from Trout Magnet Man is waiting for me to say if it's actually sharper than the Daiwa Gecko Bijin. Randy, I don't know that because it's hard to tell without any kind of tools, but I can promise you it's either sharper or just as sharp, but not any duller. Okay, so I don't know, man. I think this might be the sharpest one I've tried. And the other thing is the tip is still straight. Forget about the fish. The fish is kind of soft, but this thing was inside of wood several times and I straightened it out. And the hook straightens from, it doesn't even straighten from here. Sometimes the whole body deforms over here in the middle. The shank is so soft. The shank will bend out of shape, not over here where the curve is. But the tip never bent. I don't know how they achieved this, but the tip is extremely sharp, extremely durable. You can fish all day, all week with this. You will lose the jig before the tip wears out and becomes dull. I actually have a lot of different Cultiva jig heads, but these on top are completely different kind of design. However, these three models here, it's actually only three. These three in the middle are kind of three different sizes of the same model. These three models, which are JH-83, JH-84, and JH-85, which is the one on which I caught my PB crappie that I was talking about in the last 5 minutes. These three are kind of versions of the same jig with very slight differences that I'll show you right now. Alright folks, let me give you a close-up of each of them. The first one is JH-83. This is the 1 gram version with number 8 hook. Keep in mind because the different models have slightly different hook sizes as well as not just the weight of the head, okay? So the JH-83 has a little bit different shape. Well, all of them have a little bit different shape. And all of them have a silicone hook keeper that works really well with trout magnets. It's not gonna keep a long Berkeley worm on the hook. Those I still have to super glue. But trout magnets, I mean, this hook keeper is enough. It almost doesn't move, okay? But the other thing that needs to be said about this one is the tip of the hook. Wow, this is so slippery. The tip of the hook, come on, is slightly bent inward. By the way, the length, I have the length for each of these. This one is kind of long at exactly 26.6 millimeters, or maybe 26.5. I might be off a little bit. Oh, that's a good angle. But if I'm off, it will be a tiny fraction and it will be the same fraction that's off on all of them. Okay. The next one is JH-84, 1 gram with number 7 hook. So a little bit bigger hook. This is it here with the red bait keeper, silicone keeper. Now this one has a straight hook tip, which is my preference when I'm not in snaggy water. To be honest with you, this one is not bent inward enough to prevent snagging anyway, so might as well make it straight. I don't know what's the point, but it's bent so little that it doesn't make a difference either way. But yeah, this one is the shortest of the pack. This one is only 23.5 millimeters. Okay. Next one is the same JH-44 with number 7 hook, but a little bit heavier, 1.2 grams. So I have 1 gram, 1.2 gram, and 1.5 gram from the JH-84, and they have different, see how neat, they have different color bait keepers, red, green, and black, so if you get them, you know, mixed up, you know which one you have in front of you. So that's kind of neat. But they also come with different size hook. The 1 and 1.2 come with 7, and the 1.5 only comes with number 6 hook, which is still, I'm really close up. I'm telling you, I hate big hooks, but this hook is small enough for crappie. Okay, so, and the last one is the one I caught my PB on. It has a very particular, first it looks like a banana, okay, and then you can tie it on 2 different places. I mean, JDM stuff is just, I love it. Such attention to detail. You can tie it on the top, or you can, if you want to balance it, oh, it focuses really good now. You can also tie it in the middle. See how well it's balanced. This one is 1 gram, number 8 hook. This one is the longest of them all. This one is 28 millimeters, okay? So depending on whether you want long or short, make your choice, but these are the 3 different models. If you want to paint them in any color, even if you want to powder coat them, you know how you need to kind of heat it up and then dip it? The bait keeper did not melt when I heated up mine. However, keep in mind that adding this paint is, if you want it to sink, it's kind of counterproductive, because first it increases the volume of the jig head, which increasing the volume reduces the average density of the entire jig head. So increasing the volume makes it more difficult to sink. And then the paint itself is very light. It's always very light. So, you know, painting a jig head will reduce the sink rate, sometimes significantly. So keep that in mind. I fish these in 35 feet of water. I need them to sink fast. So I have been fishing them unpainted just so they can sink faster, and you know how it is. The fish really doesn't care. I don't know, maybe the lead even looks kind of good and shiny on the bottom, but I have been catching perch like crazy with these. So I decided not to paint them as far as perch fishing is concerned. All of these jig heads are super easy to put a trout magnet on. And the reason for that is the shaft is always long enough for the hook to get out through the cut before it goes up. Okay, you can see my other videos for more detail on this. But it just rig it through the center and it will be perfectly straight. Okay, so amazingly easy to rig a trout magnet straight. However, some of these, like this guy here, that is 28 millimeter, a little bit too long for trout magnet. Like your hook will be towards the end. This still doesn't affect the action, because if you can imagine, the hook will be, okay, it will be further down here, but it's not attached to the trout magnet, so it's not going to affect the action. Not that a trout magnet has action, that's a whole other topic. But still, if you're buying them for trout magnet, which you should, I recommend of all of them, this guy here, the JH-84 1 gram with number 7 hook. Just because it is the shortest of them all, and it just fits so good. Actually, this one is 24 millimeter, the green one. You can get this one too as well. Almost no difference between them. And then if you want, again, if it's a little bit too long, you can just clip this off with nail clippers. I don't know why this is here, probably to tie it to tie it at the front or tie something else at the front. If I have any Japanese viewers, please let me know what is the purpose of this cut over here. Now all of these, at the time I'm making this video, each of these packs cost 350 yen, which is $3.20 before shipping. But shipping on this is very cheap, especially if you're buying something else. You can add 10 packs of this probably without any increase in shipping costs. So, and each of these have, as you can see, 5 pieces in the pack. So you're paying $320 for 5 hooks. I gotta be honest with you, this is not even expensive. I mean, I've seen on Fish USA all kinds of, you know, jig heads for crappie that I even bought some just because they look interesting. Even from 13 Fishing, I bought some from 13 Fishing, okay? They look very interesting. They were more expensive than these, so these are not even expensive. But even if they were, let's say, $5 for 5 pieces, guys, I'm telling you, these jig heads are absolutely worth it. Especially right now that I'm fishing for perch. And you know, the way we fish over there, you just drop it down 35 feet. And so most people use monofilament and not that sensitive rods. Then you put gloves on because it's cold. You can't tell anything. I mean, most of these bites, you can't tell you're getting a bite until it starts to pull a little bit. So you are probably missing, I don't know, you're probably catching 1 fish out of every 4 or 5 bites. So in these conditions, having a really sharp hook just makes a huge difference in my opinion. You can probably double, maybe triple your perch catch rate just by switching from eagle claw to one of these. So I know a lot of you are budget oriented, I get that, but I don't know. If you're not fishing in snaggy area, this is right now my favorite jig head. I like it more than the Daiwa Gecko Bichon because the shank is a little bit longer, and I don't know, after so much torture, that hook to be that sharp, I think it might be even a little bit sharper than the Daiwa, or maybe the tip is harder and just stays sharp longer. But guys, this is right now my #1 jig head. I will be buying a lot more of these. They're so cheap too, and you can get them from everywhere. So yeah, even if you're on a budget for perch fishing, I strongly recommend getting you a couple packs of these. They will last you many seasons. And that's all I have for this video, guys. I hope some of you that haven't tried these hooks, give them a try. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Even if you have used other JDM stuff, you will not be disappointed. Hey, one thing I forgot to mention, if you look for these on Digitaka's website, you need to go under owner, because Cultiva is right now owned by owner, or maybe it is just a branch of owner, I don't know, but it kind of makes sense because owner were already the sharpest hooks that I knew on the US market. But yeah, keep in mind, if you search for them on the Japanese websites, you might have to look for them under owner. But that's it for this video. Thanks for, as always, for reaching the end of my videos. And yeah, hang around and to see the rest of the jigs that I have for reviews. Bye-bye.